up on the previous episode of the 1997 Marin Vally SE project. We assessed the 20-pound crusty swamp donkey of a bike, tore it back down to a frame, had an almighty fight removing the pedals from the rather tasty White Industries chain set, and got it ready for this episode right now. In the previous video, we assessed that the paintwork on this bike is beyond recuperation. We need to do a new paint finish on this bike somehow. So the first stage of this video is removing the paint from the bike. To do this, I am using emery cloth, which is kind of like sandpaper but on a cloth rather than paper. As it works really well in tube shapes, it performs better. It's relatively cheap, about £6 for 100 meters. So I'm using that to remove most of the paint. Then using wire brushes in the corners and a tiny bit of paint stripper, trying to use as little as possible. I've made a little montage of this process, so enjoy this and music. My brain, all of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay? Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain. I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away. As you fade away. As you fade away. Try to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long. So after many hours of sanding and using a wire brush and a tiny bit of paint stripper around the welded joints, because I just couldn't get the paint clear from those joints without using some paint stripper and a wire brush, here's the sort of raw metal frame. I think it looks pretty good actually. It's got a few tiny specks of paint on here and there, but overall I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It took absolutely hours and hours and hours to get to this stage. So this is where things are going to get experimental. Instead of painting this frame, I'm going to use this Built Hamber Hydrate 80 rust barrier system. This is like a paint-on product that turns black when it reacts with the iron in the steel. I'm going to pour it into this GT85 cap here, because you can't double dip the bottle, otherwise it sets the whole thing off and the whole bottle turns into plastic effectively. So yeah, I've painted it on with a paintbrush here, and you leave it for like 30 minutes ish to dry, and in that process it changed from that sort of milky blue colour to this sort of black finish, which is kind of interesting, I think. So yeah, I'm experimenting on the forks at this stage because it's a lot easier to sort out than having to resand down the whole frame. And yeah, it's not too bad, as I'll show you. This is what it looks like after the first coat in detail. As you can see, there's quite a few brush strokes on there, and it's sort of a mix of where the brush strokes were thicker and thinner, applying the product to the material. It's left it kind of stripy, so the second coat is in order. I noticed when applying the second coat, the material felt more porous and accepting for the paint. The first coat was almost like painting paint onto a wax type finish, so it didn't like adhere particularly well to the metal initially. But the second coat felt like it was more absorbed into the metal, and I tried to use it more sparingly to minimize the brush strokes. So that's kind of the strategy I was going with. And as you see, as it turns black, it looks pretty good from a distance. But on closer inspection, I wasn't happy enough with the finish. There was too many brush strokes on it for a bicycle, I think. I don't hate the finish, it'd be okay for like a pub bike or something like that, but I just don't love it. So I decided to sand it all off again. The sort of brush strokes are, yeah, not what I was after as a finish. I don't think it looks bad, but it just looks like it's made of wood or something like that. So yeah, I decided to sand it all off. One thing I thought I'd note whilst I'm editing this video is it was pretty hard to sand this stuff off. It was equivalent to the paint easily, which is quite surprising for something that was applied the previous day. Yeah, so it performs pretty well in that aspect, so it's quite durable, I feel. My second strategy was to decant the Built Hamber Hydrate 80 into a squirty bottle and try that. I wouldn't recommend it, as you can see, absolute carnage everywhere. It deploys so much product using a squirty bottle like this, and it's quite a viscous product as it is, so it doesn't like form a fine mist, it just comes out like a super soaker almost. So yeah, it's sprayed absolutely everywhere. There's loads of overspray, and yeah, I wasn't super happy with this either. So it came out fine, but as you can see, it's kind of streaky on the bike as it was drying. Also, I thought to myself, mounting the fork horizontally in the bike stand doesn't work very well for this strategy, because it sort of allows the paint to dribble and dry in rings around the diameter of the fork tubes. So at this point in time, although it kind of looks coolish, it could be kind of a stripy thing, I thought to myself, let's give it a second coat and have the fork dangling vertically from the bike stand. Hopefully that way all the paint dribbles down into itself and off the bottom of the dropouts, and it'll form a more cohesive sort of coat instead of the way it was looking that time. So second coat of Hydrate 80 on the product, and this time I let it dribble down like this, and you can see the product dribbling off the forks there as it dries. At this point I felt like I've overloaded the part with product. It was going to take a while to dry. Like, this was probably about a half-hour time lapse you're watching right now, and it was still blue, slowly changing to black. So I left it overnight. I think I didn't even check it till the next day. But it looked pretty good at the end. But I don't think I've got any video of that being captured. At this point I'm going to move straight onto the frame. As the frame's way bigger than the forks, we need access when painting it. So what I've done is I've put an old seat post into the bike stand. That way I can rotate the frame about the head tube and have easy access to the majority of the parts. I decided not to spray it on again and just paint it on using a paintbrush, but instead of just leaving it wet, I went over it with a foam roller. I think this worked pretty well, as you'll see in a minute. I think this is probably the best strategy for this product, unless you have like a spray gun of some description and can change the viscosity of it. I think this is the best way. So yeah, paint it on, then foam roll it over to get sort of a finished texture on it. So as you can see, this is it reacting now, so it's kind of got a goldy blue color as it's drying off. It's me trying to focus to get the sort of the texture of the paint there. Yeah, it's pretty good at this stage. Obviously this is first coat and it suffers from that first coat problem when you put it onto the bike. The bike is degreased. It feels like you're painting it onto grease paper. The frame is too smooth for the liquid to adhere to properly, so it kind of goes a bit streaky. I think this stuff probably worked better if the actual bike was rusty, oddly enough. But yeah, it dries to a sort of gold black colour initially on one coat. I don't think one coat's enough to give it protection, so next stage is give it a second coat. Second coat now, and it feels like the bike can take a bit more product the second time round. So yeah, paint it on with a paintbrush, then use a foam roller again to smooth out and give it some surface texture so it loses all the brush marks effectively. Yeah, this is just fade into black now, and the second coat goes way blacker for some reason, like it reacts with the previous coat, and it looks pretty good actually, I thought, after the second coat. Here's a fly around the bike now. There's a couple of spots I needed to touch up, but it gives us sort of a satin finish, which is from the paint roller. Yeah, I was pretty happy at this stage, although later on I did make a mistake and I thought I'd give it a third coat, and I think 2 coats is a sweet point. Third coat goes a bit crinkly and crunchy looking, so yeah, 2 coats is what I'd recommend if you're going to try this. Yeah, it seems to work pretty good. Onto the decals or stickers next. Instead of buying them off the shelf, I decided that I wanted to buy the machine to make one. This is a Cricut Joy. I picked this up off of Amazon for about £160, so not cheap, but it enables me to have lots of options and print out my own decals for the bike. So here you see me, this is called weeding, where you pick out all the sort of islands of interest on the decal, then you have to slowly peel it away, then put another layer of tape on the top to transfer it to the bicycle afterwards. It was investment. There's a couple of bikes coming up where I wanted some decals, and I sort of costed it out and worked out I could probably buy this machine for 2 or 3 bikes worth of decals. So I thought I'd treat myself to it, and it opens up a door of lots of opportunities. And if I get bored of colours and whatnot, yeah, it enables you to do things. So I always think that's a good way to go in life, and it gives you new skills and new opportunities. I printed out a set of decals in this silver colour, and I also printed out a set of decals in the red colour. I wasn't sure which ones to go for the bike, so I popped a YouTube shorts. I try to do a lot of YouTube shorts these days because that's what the algorithm likes, so I'm going to try to do some more, and it's often way ahead of these videos. And I asked sort of the YouTube community, you guys, what you think's best, red or silver, and I had a bunch of feedback on, yeah, go for silver, so that's what we're going to go for. I'm going to install the headset at this stage. I chose to go for a very, very cheap brand BX headset from Wiggle Chain Reaction. It's a sealed headset and it was like £7.99, so I thought I'll risk it for a biscuit and see how it goes. And they look quite good with the sort of black theme in the frame, so that'll do for now. This bike's quite the experiment, so yeah, we'll just plug this in for now and see how it goes. And as always, I bodge a staff angle nut into the fork. I really should buy the proper tool to do that at some point in time, but my once a year staff angle nut installation, it'll have to do for now. So yeah, just installing the forks on the bike, and I thought I'd treat myself to like a 1 centimeter spacer. It's not too big, but I did think, oh, there's not much fork poking up through there. Put the race face turbine stem on it. I think I'm going to use for the sort of blackout look. Yeah, and it's definitely not, the steerer's too short for there, so you need to reduce the height of that stem spacer by at least half. So I went for the normal sort of 5mm spacer. I think it's just a normal carbon 5mm spacer there. One thing I thought to myself is I'm probably going to have to spray paint the top of that fork where it's kind of gone sort of got surface rust on it to tidy it up because it looks too scruffy for me. With the fork installed, it's time to apply the decals, and yeah, here's the silver Marin decal going in place. I thought I'd line the sort of edge of the M up with the lower bottle cage position, but I fluffed this up. I pressed down the M slightly wrong there and caused a crinkle in it, and it all goes downhill a bit from here. It's fine from a distance, but yeah, up close you can see the M's got like a little crease in it, which I wasn't happy about at all. I was quite frustrated at myself, but this is why I bought a sticker printing machine. I can make these mistakes and just reprint the sticker. That was the kind of logic behind it. Yeah, wasn't happy about this, and I did end up peeling it off and making another mess. I'll show you in a tick. Onto the top tube badge, and here's the Vally SE, which I think looks like they're quite close to the original logo. This wasn't a rip-off logo. I just found the font to look pretty similar. Yeah, I was using the Cricut software that comes with the machine, so yeah, just did all that on my iPhone. It was really easy. I just kind of lined it up with the the cable stop there to sort of have a visual reference, and I think that looks pretty tidy. And here's the old school Marin logo. I thought I'd use that on the seat tube. I thought about using it on a head tube, but I kind of want to use the modern Marin logo on your head tube. I wasn't sure which way I was going to do it, so yeah, there it is on the seat tube. And here's the Marin logo from the other side. Vally SE. I think, yeah, that looks pretty classy to me. As you can see, I've already put the head tube badge on, but I forgot to press record whilst doing that, so I'll show you that in a tick. It's one of those classic mistakes of you line it up, you press focus, and just forget to press record. Yeah, I think everybody's made that. So I wasn't going to peel the sticker off just to redo it. I'll show you what it looks like in a tick. And finally, here's the down tube logo on the opposite side, the non-drive side. And again, I'm lining the end of the N up with the lower bottle cage boss. That's kind of my reference to get everything lined up on the bike. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. One thing to note, if you're interested in these Cricut machines, there's quite a lot of intricacy on it, and it's not particularly easy to follow. What I needed to buy was more of this strong transfer tape to work with this sort of the shimmering material that I bought for the logo. The normal transfer tape doesn't work very well with this. That's why I was using masking tape on the seat tube transfer, because the normal transfer tape isn't strong enough to sort of pick it off of its smart base or whatever they call it. But yeah, I think that looks pretty smart to me. So here is the finished frame set, I would say, is a good way of calling it. Here's the sort of modern Marin logo on the front there with the little 86 and the bear. I think that's pretty good. Down tube, this is areas I don't like. So the third coat, it went a bit too crinkly on the Hydrate 80, didn't like that. As you can see there, where I've peeled off the Marin logo, it didn't come through quite right, and it's peeled up some material, so I need to go and touch that. And the A's wonky, so what I might do, I might end up redoing this whole down tube on this bike before I build it up. Can't quite make my mind up on that, but it's kind of driving me around the bend. So that A's gonna have to go at least. Marin logo there looks good. I think, yeah, the classic Marin logo looks tidy. Yeah, and the Vally SE on the top tube there looks class. Overall, I would give it like 3 out of 10 for a finish. I know it's quite a low score on my own work, but there's loads of bits I'm not happy with. But for this experimental stage of this bike, like, I don't know if it's going to work well in the build phase yet. We'll have to find out and see how it goes. I think from afar, it looks fine from afar, but it's far from fine. I think that's the best way to put it. So yeah, I'm relatively happy with the way it looks. We'll find out soon. I might have to spray paint the whole thing or see how durable this finish is. And definitely have to work on that down tube, I think, because it makes my eyes itch every time I see it when it looks a bit wonky. So yeah, that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching along with me. Hope you've enjoyed this, and it's been a bit of a different way of doing things to normal restoration videos. Please join me in the next episode where we'll be building this up into some sort of gravel bike, I think. So yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.